beautiful week at the Lemurian embassy. Merida for laundry and regrouping. And then to Belize so I can have valid paperwork while I park and I don't lose my deposit. I don't know how many episodes that's going to be, but away we go! So I kind of love life. I rip into town to make sure I got a place to stay. And it's my buddy's birthday, so I get to show up to a house party. And there's weather coming in. But it all comes off the coast, so there's a really good chance that I'll have rain behind me the whole way, giving me a tailwind all the way there. Oh, life's rough sometimes.
Well, apparently, when you're in a town with no straight lines and look at the sky, north might look like west. And so what looked like was coming off the east coast ended up coming off the north coast. So instead of dodging the rain, it was pouring fucking buckets. But long story short, it was coming from the north and I was right on the nose of the storm. So it was either just ride through the crap or quite possibly wait it out and end up going through more storm. Now there was lightning, there was thunder, it was intense. But it didn't last for too long and the weather was actually kind of warm. So as far as it was concerned, especially after the Lemurian embassy, it was kind of like a baptism from the Yucatan, so I really wasn't overly concerned about it. And I only had an hour highway before Merida, so a little bit of blue sky, and the last few kilometers were just cake. Delicious cake. Oh.
This is why we always ask questions. So I Google this, remember this? This is where I have to go to get all my paperwork done. And long story short, instead of going to Belize, crossing the border, waiting 3 days, and coming back, all I gotta do now is get my temporary resident card and then go to the border and extend my import permit. So I don't have to check out and check back in, I just extend it and it's good until I am, which is like next April. So I can leave, I can come back, my bike's still valid, no multiple trips to the border, burning gas, spending money on hotels. I still get to ride to Belize, which is rough. I get an extra day in Merida, and I get to be back in Playa with a couple extra days on that end, and time for scuba and this. Well, that blows. Apparently I need a visa before I can do this residency trick. So I can do that in Mexico City or in Canada. Basically that's out of the question. I guess I'm spending 3 days in Belize. And that's what it is. Okay, so let's recap. It's now Tuesday, noonish, and in order for me to make my vehicle legal and not lose my deposit, I have to go to Belize for 3 days and do paperwork. Now, the deposit is about $270 Canadian, and I think this trip to Belize is going to cost me at least $150, maybe $200 Canadian to actually pull it off. So, for $100 Canadian, or 1 day's work in Canada, that's what I would lose if I just let my permit expire and then renew it when I get back. So I'm thinking for $100 Canadian, for 1 day's work in Canada, to have 3 days more in Mexico, because I fly out in like 10 days, I think that's a fair trade. You know what I mean? Like, I could either spend 3 days in a hotel waiting on bureaucracy, or I could trade that for 1 extra day's work in Canada. I think I'm just gonna let it expire. And if it turns out to be the most terrible financial decision of this entire trip, well, then I know. But in the meantime, I have 10 days and I'm here to have fun. So, I hate paperwork. I think Belize is a September game.